Well, it's been a week since President Joe Biden stepped aside and endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris as the candidate for the Democratic nomination. And since that historic moment, Republicans have launched a series of gender and race-based attacks, a continuation of the assault on diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, despite polls that show many Americans believe diversity programs are a good thing. And now, House Speaker Mike Johnson and other GOP leaders have asked their colleagues to stop using the term DEI hire about the presumptive nominee. According to the League of Women Voters, women decided the 2022 elections. They turned out to vote in overwhelming numbers, which may be in part due to the Supreme Court ruling on abortion rights. Well, joining me now, Massachusetts Attorney General Andrea Campbell. Thank you for being with us today. Good to see you.
You too. Thank you for having me.
Andrea, you were part of a wave of women voted into office in Massachusetts 2 years ago, with Governor Maura Healey, Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll taking the top state constitutional jobs. Do you think those 2022 results here in Massachusetts are indicative of the rest of the country's receptiveness to having a woman lead a ticket?
Absolutely. I don't think we need another report to talk about the leadership of women. Has always been about compassionate leadership, getting things done, bringing people together. And of course, that won't change with Vice President Harris at the top of the ticket and all the other races that are up and down the ballot all across this country. And so it's our time to mobilize, to organize, and most importantly, to do the work to turn out the vote. And I'm excited to support our vice president, along with others who are running all across the country.
Now, what do you think is different in 2024 from 2016 when Hillary Clinton ran, or even when Vice President Harris first ran for the 2020 nomination in terms of the country's receptiveness to having a woman in the top job? You know, we could even think about Nikki Haley's attempt on the Republican side. What's changed?
That's right. Well, one, I'm proud to have supported actually Kamala Harris when she ran for president some years ago, and have been a fan and a supporter for a very long time. She was my commencement speaker when I graduated from UCLA Law School and was the district attorney at the time, and obviously went on to become attorney general, a senator, and of course vice president, and now of course on her way to become our Democratic nominee. And I think what's changed is, one, you got to give credit to President Biden. The grace which he showed in bowing out of the race, putting his country first, his love of country first, and the sacrifice, we all need to applaud. And then he wasted no time in throwing his full support behind the vice president, giving infrastructure, investing in her leadership, which is, of course, really important when you think about women taking over and becoming the first. You need mentorship. You need folks to invest in you. And he did that. And now it's our job and our opportunity to do the work. But I think what's different is, in this moment of political divisiveness and such vitriol and hate, there is hope. And our vice president offers that hope. President Biden offers that hope and that inspiration to really inspire people to get involved, to mobilize around what I would say is the most crucial election of our lifetime.
Let me ask you this. You mentioned President Biden, and let's come back to this idea of DEI. One thing that does come to mind are the words allyship and advocates. Tell us more about what it meant to have President Biden quickly and emphatically endorse Vice President Harris for the nomination. And what do you think other leaders outside of politics can take from that?
Absolutely. One, I got goosebumps and almost tears when he put out that post throwing his full support behind the vice president. Anytime you are the first, and as you know, Karen, I am the first Black woman to serve as AG in Massachusetts, the first woman of color to win statewide here. You need folks of all different backgrounds to invest in you. And I'll name it. You need white people and white men to also invest in you, to be mentors. All of us need that if we are going to take our rightful place, and most importantly, to not only become the first, but be successful. So whether it was Barack Obama, Deval Patrick, anyone who was a first, they had folks invest in them early on. That's what President Biden did. It wasn't surface level support. It was full-hearted support. You could feel his enthusiasm in supporting the vice president, giving resources, infrastructure to her, and then pushing others to do the same. We can have that happen in every industry where we're lagging in terms of diversity. And I think that is a lesson to take from this, is that you need support and mentorship and sponsorship if you're going to be successful. And I'm really proud of the president.
So, A.G. Campbell, let's talk about the other side of identity politics. Some say that Vice President Harris is getting supported because she is a black woman. On the day that President Biden announced he would not seek re-election, though, over 40,000 black women gathered on a call that raised over $1.5 million for Harris. So what's your response to the critics that say her support is coming from identity and not substance?
I would say it's both. And those that say she's a DEI candidate or want to put out such hate and vitriol with respect to her candidacy, they want to distract us. They want to distract us from the issues, from her substance, and frankly, from her professional background and leadership. I was on that call with nearly 40,000 black women on Sunday, and people are enthusiastic, not just because she's a black woman and it's time that our political leadership represent the demographics we serve, but also because she has done the work. She's done the work as vice president. She's done the work as Attorney General of California. She's done the work as a district attorney. She's done the work as a senator, bringing and creating economic opportunity, fighting for women's right to choose, protecting our children, prosecuting child abuse cases, family violence. She's done everything to take on gun reform. So she has done the work, and people should be proud that she's a woman and that she's a black woman and that she stands in being a woman of color, because we too can lead just as anyone else if we're given the opportunity. And frankly, if we get out there and support and vote her, she can make it.
So critics target the current administration's failure in some of the big promises and issues like voting rights and the border. How do you think she's going to differentiate herself from that? And what is VP Harris' best defense?
One, I think we can't discount this. The Republican hatred and vitriol that we are seeing coming from the candidates on the other side, people are tired of that. The despair that existed for some time in this country, people want hope. They need hope. And Vice President Harris and all that she is creating on this Democratic side is creating hope and inspiration and getting folks who might have stayed out of the race to get involved and to want to come out and vote. That is significantly important. Then she has a track record of accomplishment. We have done this work in partnership with her out of the AG's office. This is taking on junk fees, all those hidden fees that you don't like in terms of your transactions, taking on student loan debt, wiping out hundreds of thousands of dollars for residents here, creating economic opportunity, absolutely defending and fighting for women's right to choose. She's doing the work. And so I know that if she keeps on the message of the substance, she can win this. But we have to make sure we're talking about what we would do for the people.
Andrea, you first met the vice president when you were a student at UCLA Law School, and she was the California Attorney General. She lent support to your campaign for AG. What do you think she needs to do to succeed and win?
She can't take anything or anyone for granted. When she came out the gate, she said, I'm going to work to earn the support and for the Democratic nomination. And she did that. She made her calls. She got out there to mobilize folks all across every state to earn the support of delegates. Now she has to get out there and earn the support of the American people. And she's doing that, talking about her track record of helping folks, especially our most vulnerable, and what she will do to help the American people. And if she keeps doing that and we don't take anything for granted and we get out there to support her, this country truly can, of course, have a historic victory that would make us all very proud.
Attorney General Andrea Campbell, thank you for joining us. Be well.